I'm going to show you something quite extraordinary here. You see that? It looks like a regular lingam, but there is a big mystery hiding inside that chamber. Let's take a closer look at the lingam, an unusually long shaft. But here's the surprising detail. Right next to it, do you see this? What is this? An underground space going directly into the floor. Why? And look at the shape of this. It is not a regular pit. The pit itself is shaped like the outline of a lingam. There seems to be two levels in it. One larger pit, but there's also another smaller pit attached. Why would someone create an underground space in this shape, in the main chamber of an ancient temple built at least 1,000 years ago? This is also a big safety hazard. People can easily fall inside this pit. This is already very strange, but it gets stranger. Outside this chamber, right next to it, it looks like the regular ground level here, but again, there is another underground space. This pit even goes deeper than the first one. Why? Why would someone place a lingam in the middle of a chamber and then make an underground space right next to it? And if that's not enough, why would they make a second pit deeper than the first one? Welcome to the Phanom Rung temple. No, this temple is not in India. This is perhaps the most mysterious ancient structure in Thailand. So mysterious, it has baffled both archaeologists and visitors alike. Because of its remote location, most people don't even know such a temple exists. But I will be exploring this temple this November. So if you want to join me, you can scan this barcode or click on the link in the description and join my tour. Let's go back into the main chamber. Now, I showed you the lingam, the first pit and the second pit, but I missed an important detail. Let me shine a flashlight through the first pit here. It has a hole at the top. This is very odd. And if that's not strange enough, at the bottom of this pit, you see that? There's another hole here. So the first pit has two holes. Now, let's go to the second pit and check something. In the second chamber, again, you can see this hole right here. You can see flies coming out. That's weird and creepy. It's not been touched for decades or probably even centuries. But wait, what is that? Is that another hole at the bottom? Yes, even in the second pit, there is another hole at the bottom. So you can see two holes, one at the top and another at the bottom. Now, we're looking at an ancient mystery. It has been an unsolved mystery for at least 1,000 years. But by the end of this video, we have to solve it. Why would ancient builders put a lingam here, create a first pit with two holes, and create a second pit with two holes as well? Now, I'm going to do an experiment. Let me get down into the first pit and put my camera through the top hole. I'm going to ask my team to shine a flashlight from the top hole of the second pit. You see that? Yes, we can clearly see light passing through the top hole of the second pit to the top hole of the first pit. These two pits are absolutely connected through the top holes. There should be no doubt about this. But wait, let's test something else too. Let me put my camera at the bottom hole. I'm asking him to shine the light at the bottom hole of the other pit. What do you think? Will light come through this hole too? First, it is completely dark, but look carefully. You can see light shining through. It is faint, but still you can see light coming through the bottom hole as well. They are also connected. Because of all the sediments and dirt, the bottom channel is clogged. But both these pits are connected at the top and at the bottom. But why? Imagine this is not light. Imagine this is water. It would flow perfectly through these top and bottom channels. But ancient boulders did not use water. I will explain this in a minute. We are just scratching the surface of the solution, but we have discovered an ancient dual channeling system. There are two channels connected like this, and it's not just a regular channeling system, it's a concealed channel system. Today, when we build houses, a lot of times we still have pipes unconcealed out in the open. But sophisticated engineers always create a concealed piping system. But this concealed pipe or channel system was built 1,000 years ago in this Hindu temple. Here you see the channel opening, and here you see the channel going. But on top, it is completely concealed with stone slabs. Now, remember, I told you it is a safety hazard to leave these pits open like this. Why would ancient builders leave open pits? When somebody walked in like this 1,000 years ago, wouldn't they fall inside these pits? Why did ancient builders not think of this? They did. These pits were also concealed. Originally, everything was completely concealed, looking perfect like a regular floor. Why do I say this? Look here at the very end of the first pit. You can see two small stone slabs clearly concealing the pit. And if you look carefully at the corners, you can see these projections here. These were deliberately created to hold the lid. Yes, there would have been more slabs placed on top to conceal this pit, and these projections would hold these slabs. This brings up an important point. Where I'm standing right now, this is not a solid floor. There is an underground pit here, right below where I'm standing. And here, you can also see the stone slabs at the other end of the first pit, covering the floor. So yes, we are looking at an ancient concealed channel system built in Thailand at least 1,000 years ago. But what happens to the liquid that is poured on top of the lingam? The liquid gets collected at the first pit and then gets channeled to the second pit. But what happens to the liquid after the second pit? Let me show you a megalithic marvel outside the temple walls. Yes, this channel continues all the way over there. This is perhaps the longest megalithic stone channel ever made. I could make an entire video just about the outside channel. It's completely made of rock. It's made of just 2 blocks of stone. And this is a very odd detail. It would have been much easier to make this channel with bricks or metal or clay, but ancient builders chose to make it out of rock. And this is the only reason why this channel still exists. Otherwise, even if it were made of iron, it would have rusted and disintegrated many centuries ago. So they created this rock channel to last forever. But there are mysterious and interesting details hidden here. There's not just one outlet at the very end, but there are multiple outlets on the sides. You can see one on the left and another one on the right. And you can also see outlets from the side view as well. Very interesting. But why would a channel be designed this way with multiple outlets? Now that we have mapped the entire channel system, it would look like this. At first look, some people may guess this is a simple drainage system. The channel was designed to simply remove the water poured on the lingam to the outside, right? Wrong. Why? You don't need two separate channels for draining, one at the top and one at the bottom here. If it was just for draining, one big hole at the bottom would be quite sufficient. And all drainage systems use smooth channels. You don't want any stagnation. Today, you would use pipes to make sure the water flows freely without stagnating anywhere and release it out as quickly as possible. But in this system, the water is deliberately made to stagnate in two different tanks, in pit 1 and in pit 2. Why? Because they were not using water at all. They were doing something else here. Think about it. If it was just water or wastewater, would you let it stagnate in these pits for a while? Absolutely not. But these tanks were needed for something important. Now, look carefully at this lingam. Something is odd about this lingam. When you see closely, the cylinder is not fixed inside the base. The lingam is not placed inside the yoni. It is just placed above it. This is not the original lingam, because in ancient times, the cylinder would have been driven deep inside the base. But here, this is not the case at all. This lingam should have been placed recently in the past few centuries. The original lingam must have been positioned differently. Its spout would have been placed directly on top of the first pit. Where is the original lingam now? But a better question would be, what material was the original lingam made of? Was the lingam made of a shiny black stone? Was it made of granite or sandstone? No, it was made of 9 toxins, an ancient concoction known as Navapashana. The word Navapashana means 9 poisons. Nava means 9 and Pashana means poisons. But why would a lingam be made of toxic materials? Because if consumed separately, these are poisons and can cause harm. But concocted together, they had amazing healing properties. The most famous Navapashana statue is in the temple of Parani in India. This statue, housed in the main chamber of this temple, is actually made of 9 toxins. But how can a statue made of 9 different poisons heal people? Every day, priests perform a ritual where they pour water on top of the statue. The water falls all over the statue and grabs minute particles of this Navapashana. So, by the time the water hits the ground, the water has small particles of this healing material. It's like a medicine. It is then distributed to people, especially to those who are sick. This liquid is then ingested by devotees who get the benefits of the concoction. But they do one important process before giving it to the people. They filter the liquid to make sure they remove any big chunks of toxin. Filtration is very important because consuming big chunks of Navapashana can be dangerous. And this is exactly what you see in the Phanom Rung temple. This is an advanced filtration system. Let's go back in time 1,000 years ago. When water is poured on top of the Navapashana lingam, the water would grab some of the particles from the lingam and would start moving through this channel. But it should not flow freely because there would be big particles of toxins, and that can be dangerous. So, what did ancient builders do? They designed an advanced multiple level filtration system. This is why you need 2 pits, and this is why you need 2 channels, one at the top and one at the bottom. First, they would put stoppers at the bottom channel. What happens when the medicinal liquid flows from the lingam into the pit? It is allowed to stagnate in the first pit. Why? Because gravity will cause the bigger particles of toxins to settle down. Only the water, which has very small levels of medicine, would come to the top. And only this dilute medicinal liquid would go to the next pit. In architectural terminology, these 2 pits can be described as sedimentary water tanks or reservoir filters. These are systems used to remove impurities from flowing water. In fact, the ancient Roman water filter system, the Pisani Limerae of Aqua Alexandrina, uses a very similar principle. Remember, if you don't want thicker soup, just take the soup from the top. So, the concentrated liquid stays at the bottom of the tanks because Navapashana can be toxic, and only a dilute concoction goes to the top and it moves to the second pit. Another filtration happens here again. The concentrated liquid settles at the bottom of the second pit and the dilute version goes outside. This is also repeated at the outside channel as well, where they have a small collecting tank there too. But what was the purpose of the bottom channel? If it was designed as a filtration system, why would they need another channel at the bottom for cleaning and maintenance? Without the bottom channel, they would have to manually clean the pits and have to touch the toxic material. So they designed a channel at the very bottom for cleaning. Again, this is typically how we design water tanks. The pipe, which supplies clean water, is often set up a few inches above the bottom, while there is another tap at the very bottom for maintenance. It's always kept closed, but when it's cleaning time, We opened the bottom tap to drain all the sediments and water completely. You may think we invented all this in modern times, but you can see how ancient builders created a complex, concealed, multi-layered filtration system at least 1,000 years ago in this Hindu temple. So during normal operations, the bottom channel would be closed, and during cleaning, they would open the bottom channel and wash everything out. But is this just a theory that the Phanom Rung temple housed a Navapashana lingam for healing people? Is there any evidence that this temple was used in ancient times by sick people to get well and get healed? Yes, archaeologists have found inscriptions proving that it was used as Arogyashala, an ancient Sanskrit word for hospital or medical center. This is even mentioned in the Phanom Rung Temple's Wikipedia page. So there's no doubt that this temple was used as a healing center during ancient times. But why was the Phanom Rung temple chosen for the Navapashana lingam? Why did they not put them in other temples? Because this temple is located on a mountaintop, and not any mountaintop. It's at the rim of an extinct volcano at an elevation of about 1,300 feet. Why is this important? Because all ancient Navapashana statues are placed only on hilltops or mountaintops. Why? Because the herbs and plants which make up the concoction are found only at elevated altitudes. These herbs do not grow at ground level, and without these herbs, you cannot make Navapashana. This is why all Navapashana statues are placed on hill or mountain tops. So, the fact that Phanom Rung is placed at the top of a high hilltop confirms that yes, the original lingam must have been made of Navapashana. There is no doubt about this. By the way, I found some very interesting details about what was kept at the bottom of the pits. The pits were not empty. They had some bizarre objects inside. But I've posted this in the members only section. This exclusive video has some unique details about the ancient lingams and healing techniques. So please click on the join button below and watch that video. So you can see how this remote temple in Thailand once had an ancient healing lingam which cured millions. See how they designed a complex underground concealed filtration system without using any materials like metal or wood. See how they created everything in stone, which would last for millennia. This November, we are going to visit this temple and absorb its sacred energy. So if you want to join our Thailand tour, scan this barcode or click on the link in the description. I am PraveenMohan. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.